It is officially time to sound the alarms and be panicked about the status of Joel Embiid's knee. We all saw him be a late scratch against the Denver Nuggets, bringing on the ducking accusations and triggering an investigation from the NBA as a whole, but we now have some more clarity on what exactly he's dealing with, and to look you straight in the eye, I am concerned about it. In this video, I'm going to break down what exactly those reports are saying, how it impacts Joel, how it impacts the Sixers, and how it should change their approach from here for the remainder of the season. Now, before I dive fully into it, I do want to make sure you guys are smashing that subscribe button. That at this point in time, 78.7% of you guys watching these videos have not subscribed to the channel just yet. We want to hit that 3,000 mark before the end of January. We have less than 48 hours to do it, so I need your guys' help with it. Got to keep this channel growing. Got tons to break down as we head into the home stretch of the season. About a week until the trade deadline, so plenty of news, and we will know what this team's looking like as the playoff picture is painted. And at the forefront of all of this is Joel Embiid. So to lay out exactly what we have going on here, begin by leading up to the events that caused him to be ruled out of that Denver Nuggets game. We had some clarity from Ramona Shelburne, who hopped on NBA Today. And I will point out that Ramona Shelburne has always been one of the more tapped-in national reporters as it pertains to Joel Embiid, that throughout the Ben Simmons era, the James Harden era, whenever there was these whispers or reports coming from Joel Embiid's side of things, it was always Ramona tended to be the one that reported those nationally. So she is pretty tapped in on that side of things. And of course, we do know that the late scratch did trigger an investigation from the NBA. The quote from Shams Charania on this one saying, Joel didn't enter the injury report, I'm told, until 15 minutes before tip-off, and for sure that's something that the league will have to review. Now, why this is valid and why this is noteworthy is Ramona kind of laid out the Embiid side of things that said it was Joel's call to not be listed on the injury report. That he walked in there, and there is a give and take with these conversations between the trainer and between the players. And with Joel specifically, it's a very collaborative approach in which he goes through his warm-up routine. They make the decision from there. They see how he's feeling, how he's looking, and that's when the decision is made. Quite frustrating that pretty much a night in and night out basis that there is a questionable designation next to his name. But for this specific matchup, Embiid said, don't list me on the injury report. I'm playing. I don't care. And then the trainers watched him warm up and said, no, that's not going to be the case. So to lay out what Ramona said here, we have this tweet here from Brian Toparik, who laid out the full clip, and Ramona said, quote, there's swelling in there, and that, quote, he couldn't even jump before the Denver game. And once again, her saying that it was Embiid's call not to be listed, that he made it quite clear to everybody that he would be playing in that game, only to have that kind of taken from him before the game. She laid out a little bit more clarity in this article here, in which she wrote ahead of him missing the Trailblazers game last night. She writes, it was the second straight game Embiid has missed. He was a late scratch from Saturday's showdown with two-time MVP Nikola Jokic in Denver, which according to multiple sources has prompted the league to investigate the circumstances of the team's injury reporting. Embiid was not listed on any of the pregame injury reports leading into Saturday's game. According to sources close to the situation, Embiid was determined to play in Denver but for the first time since 2019, but was pulled from the game by the team's medical staff after the staff watched him warm up before the game. As one source put it, he, quote, could barely jump as he warmed up. This is where the alarms sound off in my head. And I've had this overarching concern about Joel Embiid all season. That we know the track record, we know the injury history, and frankly, he's been far healthier than people give him credit, as there is this, injury designation next to his name, but the facts are still the facts. And when you are a 7-foot man and built the way that he is built at his size, there are more issues that go wrong with your body. And with Joel specifically, what has been concerning to me throughout this year is we've never had the clarity on what exactly that he's dealing with. That we have the quote from Shelburne saying how this is just something he's going to have to deal with throughout this year, and that's really not acceptable to me. That what is the issue here? That throughout the entire season and throughout the games that he's missed, and to look into what that is exactly, this is now the 4th time this season in which he has missed multiple games in a row. And all these talking about what the injury designations are. It's just knee swelling, knee soreness, knee injury management. We have never heard an actual designation for what the injury is. Now, it also should be noted that he did tear his meniscus last year in the playoffs. We all know that. He's had issues with both knees this season. That he was ruled out of this Nuggets game with left knee soreness, but it was the right knee that it looked like he injured against the Pacers the game prior. The fact that it is both of these knees bugging him is especially concerning to me. And if I want to connect dots and put on my tinfoil hat, it has to be some sort of tendonitis thing or something that is more chronic in that side of things, which is the worst case scenario for the Sixers. That if this is a long-term issue that he's going to have to deal with and just figure out how to manage, as Ramona Shelburne is saying, that's just not a good sign for the future of Joel Embiid. And what's especially frustrating is the level that he is still playing out. That there is no doubt that from start to finish this season, he's been the best player in the NBA. He's leading the league in scoring for the third consecutive season. He's added layers as a playmaker, a career high over 6 assists per game. Defensively, he's been every bit as impactful as he's been throughout the past couple years of his career. He's been nothing short of spectacular this year. But to play through this stuff and to see the light at the end of the tunnel, that championship goals, these MVP goals, seeing them fading away is especially frustrating. And now we know the brutal reality that there are now 5 more games that Embiid can miss before he's disqualified from the in-season awards. This is where I think you have to wave the white flag, have to look everybody in the mirror and understand MVP is just not going to happen this year. That in all reality, with a little under 40 games left to play, with only 5 more games that he can miss, it is not worth it to make Joel Embiid go for this number and get to that award. And that's very frustrating because, as I've said, I will fight tooth and nail that he's been by far the best player in the NBA this year. Frankly, I think there's a pretty significant gap between Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who I would consider number 2, Nikola Jokic, who I would consider number 3, even Luka Doncic and Giannis, who each have also been excellent this season. Embiid's been by far the better player. That my pitch for this being, tell me the last time you've seen a guy be the team's most important player on the offensive and defensive end. That is what Joel Embiid does on a night in and night out basis. That each of these guys have a balance to them. For example, with Giannis, that you have Dame Lillard to release things on the offensive end. When you look at the Denver Nuggets, Jokic just is not that high impact defender on that side of the ball. We've seen that front and center. Joel is that guy for this Sixers team, and he's delivered. He's taken his game to new heights in a way that, frankly, I just did not think were possible based on the growth that he has been taking. But it all comes down to the playoffs, and that is where the focus needs to be. That for all the ducking accusations, for all the injury concerns, all the conversation about him coming up small, the only way to squash that is with a legitimate high-level playoff run. And beyond just this season, by the way, there's a lot of repercussions for Joel, not just the legacy side of things. And I'm more sympathetic to the MVP chase than most. That I do think it's important for guys to care about that. I think it's lame when you are the Nikola Jokic saying, I don't even want that award, I don't care, blah, 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 all that stuff. That's lame to me. That I want guys to say, I want to be recognized as the best. I want at the end of my career to have MVPs next to my name. I want my legacy to be etched in the NBA history books. I do think Joel has that mindset. But you have to take the wider view here. Now, what's Joel Embiid going to look like when he's walking at 60 years old, man? Like, there's some real long-term effects that are coming into play here that aren't worth him going for this award. And especially in the short term for this season, if it takes sacrificing a couple games in and out of the season, even if these Sixers drop in the standings, which is honestly very likely at this point. Now look at the New York Knicks, look at the Cleveland Cavs, even the Indiana Pacers, the Miami Heat, who have looked bad lately, but the Knicks and Cavs specifically just are not losing of late, that they're playing some phenomenal basketball. But to me, it's not worth it to be that locked in to winning and staying atop the Eastern Conference. It's not worth it to be that locked in to making sure Joel Embiid is hitting this certain number of games so he does qualify for these awards. The wider view should be on the playoffs. And if Joel Embiid has to take some additional games off for the remainder of the season to make sure that he's at least capable of playing in the playoffs, that is absolutely the decision that should be made. So I do think now is the time where Daryl Morey, where the rest of the Sixers front office, the management, the trainers, whoever else needs to be involved in this decision, there's got to be some hard conversations that say, Joel, it's time to compete for a championship. That we don't know how many more years that we are going to have of you at this level, let alone playing basketball if these knee issues are as serious as some are starting to speculate they could be. So if that is the case, you have to focus on giving him a chance to win this year. You have to address things at the deadline to allow this team to stay afloat when Joel cannot go on a night-to-night basis. And you have to hope that he has enough in the tank to go on a postseason run. We know the level of basketball that he can play at. We've seen it front and center. That, as I've pounded the table and made clear, he's been the best player in the NBA, and he's capable of on an every-night basis. So make sure he's at somewhat of a level in which that can be the case come playoff time, and the Sixers team has a chance at a championship. So for now, the Sixers should take their foot off the gas in the Joel Embiid situation. Figure out what exactly is wrong with those knees and what steps can be taken to help those. If that means shutting him down until the All-Star break, giving him treatment, and then bringing him back after, I'm absolutely okay with that. That I don't want these Band-Aid fixes of just managing pain or managing the injury. That makes zero sense for both the short-term and long-term effects of Joel's career and what specifically he's dealing with. Find the root of the problem, find what a possible solution is, and help Joel Embiid's long-term and short-term health. It is the best thing for him as an individual. is the best thing for the Sixers as the franchise, and frankly is the only route I see for this team competing for a championship. We have yet to see Joel Embiid go through a playoff series completely healthy, a lot of that not being his fault when we talk about Pascal Siakam elbowing him in the face, him breaking his face on Markelle Fultz's shoulder. There's been some bizarre circumstances with Joel, but you have to do everything possible to put him in the best situation in which this does not become the case. So that is what I want to see from the Sixers organization from now. I think Daryl Morey has to go out and get some additional firepower that as we watch these shorthanded games, which are a blast to watch when it is Pat Bev running the show, the young guys getting a chance, but they are not legitimate contenders. Add another piece of firepower that can help this team contend, help this team keep their head afloat when Joel is not on the floor, and allow the superstar to get healthy. This team has no chance of competing with a championship if Joel Embiid is not on the floor come crunch time. Do whatever is necessary to make that the best possible chance of getting him there, and please think about his short-term and long-term health over prioritizing competing for these awards. It is frustrating. In an ideal world, he does play those 65 games and is still ready for the postseason, but it looks like we're at the point where there has to be some give and take in that decision, and the playoffs and a championship have to be the priority. Shout out to Joel Embiid for muscling through as much as he can. I hope that knee is not as serious as we are kind of being led to believe at this moment, but I'm not overly optimistic based on what is coming out. Who knows how much more information we will even get. They've been very secretive about this the entire season. As I mentioned, still no diagnosis for what the injury is or what he's dealing with. So I would love to see some clarity on that or some specifics of what the issue is, what he's dealing with, or at least some sort of outlook from the team's perspective. Hopefully that is the case, and if it is, I'll be sure to report back here right away. Thank you guys for tuning into this video. Send some prayers for the boy Joel Embiid that he heals up and is able to go on a playoff run. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. Make sure you're smashing that subscribe on the channel, dropping a like on this video, and drop a comment to let me know your thoughts on the situation as a whole. Appreciate all you guys, and be talking with you next time right here on Sixers Digest.